Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network. Hi, this is Amit Doshi, and I wanted to thank each and every one of our listeners. It's been 2 years since I founded IVM, and it's been an amazing 2 years. We wanted to learn a little bit more about who is listening to our shows, and so we put together a short survey. The survey is anonymous, and we aren't going to be collecting any personal information. I would really appreciate it if you could take a couple of minutes out of your day and go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill it out. Thanks, and please keep listening.
You're listening to Keeping It Queer with Naveen Narona.
Hello everyone and welcome to an all-new episode of Keeping It Queer. Today in the studio with me is someone I've been trying to get here for a while and she's finally made it. We have Shruta Neytra in the house. Yay!
Yay!
Shruta is a research manager at the Humsafar Trust and we've spoken to people before from the Humsafar Trust, but what you bring in is a very real thing because you've studied so much and you've learned about STI so much that now you use special words for vaccinations.
Absolutely.
And,
Lasikaran it is.
So a lot more on this episode of Keeping It Queer, and thank you Shruta first of all for joining us, and I want to know about how you really started your life. Like, let's go back to like day one.
Right.
Not day one actually, let's go to month,
year, whatever. Naveen, thanks for having me here. This is super and I'm so excited to be speaking. I grew up in Borivali, which is a small little place in the north of Mumbai, and a very convent school, all girls school, so you can imagine it must have been a bit of a field day out there.
IC colony, is it?
Oh my god, yes. IC colony, very immaculate to be like very
immaculate being the keyword there.
I agree.
Virgin, anyways.
Yeah. So, growing up, there was a lot of emphasis on doing well as a person. I mean, I come from a family which is fairly open-minded, very forward as far as a lot of things go. No boys in my house, and it may not seem like I wouldn't know whether your listeners would, get the impact of it, but then there are no boys in my family, and girls are pushed to exceed to the
like
point.
No cousins, no brothers, nothing.
कहीं पे कोई तो दूर कहीं होगा, but it's like 5 cousins together, all of us really close bonded, and the emphasis was always on study.
Like a joint family system, more like?
People living close by.
Achha.
That's as good as a joint family. The closest to a joint family you could get in Mumbai.
You scream from one balcony to the other and then it's joint family.
It was literally scream from one balcony to another. My family is basically from South, but then we've been in Mumbai for very long. They're from Karnataka and we speak Konkani at home.
Oh, me too.
Yes, of
Kasha
course.
say.
But yes.
Nice.
But being in IC colony, I would say exposes to a lot of, different ideologies, religions, and we grew up in a very open atmosphere.
Because more Christians there in general.
A lot of Christians.
The Makapaus are more chill.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing to do, I studied from St. Francis myself, the college, and I used to like bunk lectures and roam around IC because it felt like home for a reason. There was like a small corner of Borivali which is so untapped and so nice and serene.
It feels like as if you've been transported to Shimla,
and
man.
It's not like anything in Borivali.
Nope.
Like National Park on one end, but IC colony has got its own charm.
It's
like LIC colony.
I agree.
I don't know why we're talking about Borivali so much, but I think it's important. My first partner and I hooked up in this car in Borivali itself, in LIC colony. So
but those places are like that. There's so much of privacy. You grow up actually playing on grounds and jumping here and there. And growing up, we were all very boisterous. And at no point of time were we ever told ki, beta, shorts mat pehno, ya ye ladkon ka kaam hai, aap nahi karoge. So that resulted in us being very outspoken, being very, I would say, frank in a lot of things. But the one aspect that my family was very not okay with in a sense was ladko se baat nahi karna. And I was like, interest kisko hai? तो
इतनी बात ही नहीं करी अभी तक तो how do you start?
So, but as I said, emphasis ज़्यादा पढ़ाई पे था कि get your scores okay. And I was a good student. It wasn't that I wasn't a good student, but being in this all-girls school used to make me feel things that I didn't quite understand at that point of time. Ki, अरे यार, लड़की है, बड़ी cute है. And I spoke about this to someone who was senior in the role of a counselor, not family. And she was like, this happens because you are in an all-girls school. Once you grow up, it's all going to go away. It's a phase.
So everybody goes to that is what her
yeah, and the women around me seem to be supporting that as well, because we had these girl crushes that happened in school. We had these girls who were like total fangirls, you know, ki arey apna autograph de do. And I used to look like Harry Potter. Difficult to believe, but I did look like Harry Potter. I loved him. And I used to think ki maybe because I am Harry Potterish, इसलिए autograph आके ले रहे हैं, and I never quite got that. But a whole part of my life just went waiting कि ये phase कब खत्म होगा. It wasn't that I didn't find boys cute. I found boys cute as well. So I thought, okay, maybe I need a little more push in that direction.
Correct. And at that age, you can't say if this is like cute, okay, cute, I would like to pull their cheeks cute, or pull something else kind of cute. Like,
I completely agree.
That's very, very difficult to decipher.
Indeed. And ऐसे भी नहीं था कि कुछ होता नहीं था. There were things that used to happen. But then I said, ये तो phase है भाई. Once I move on in life and once I go to college, because college was the big thing where everyone suddenly turned cool. I was like, वहाँ पे जाने के बाद ये सब खत्म होने वाला है. Correct. And this is only happening because मैं मेरी immaculate में हूँ. I mean, my school's going to kill me for saying this. Sister Linda, I love you. But yeah. तो वैसे होने के बाद college चालू हो गया and it still didn't go. And I was like, okay.
Because college is more like a cesspool of even more hormonal youth coming together.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And I briefly dated someone at that point of time, and even she was in the same phase कि हाँ भाई ये तो ऐसे ही है. And we were like, ठीक है, phase है, चला जाएगा. And I think it took me time to move from Borivali to Sydney to finally come to the terms of the fact कि ये phase नहीं है यार, ये कहीं जाने नहीं.
ज़्यादा लंबा हो गया शायद से.
बहुत ही ज़्यादा लंबा हो गया, बहुत ही खींचे. उसके बीच में relationships भी हो गई थी, लड़कों के साथ, लड़कियों के साथ. But then
at this point I'm like, yeah, I'm convinced that
no, this is not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
And it was just like ऐसे भी नहीं था कि there was this crazy emotional turmoil or breaking of bangles or रोना धोना. Just woke up one morning and मेरा गंदा सा bedroom था Sydney में. Just share it with four other, I mean not the bedroom, the house with four other guys.
But did you live under the stairs?
No, I didn't, man. But there was a space under the stairs that was really cool.
Should have used it and then you a bit
I
more
agree.
to the character of Harry Potter.
But it did look like a tiny closet. Yeah? मेरा room तो like इतना सा था. And just woke up one morning, sun coming through the
just
window.
Like opened the door, I'm like, I'm out of the closet, bitches.
And I'm like, exactly. And that was it. It wasn't anything like, you know, hi Bhagwan, मैं ऐसी क्यों हूँ? Oh God, save me from doing this, that. Nothing. I was just like, हाँ भाई ये phase नहीं है. Get over it. And this is it.
So in Sydney, when you used to live, how many people were there around you?
I was alone. I mean, family के हिसाब से, I had no one I knew from before in Sydney. So in a way, one of the reasons why I chose Sydney was because I knew no one there.
Yeah.
And I wanted some time to grow as a person. My sexuality was nowhere in my mind at that point of time. As I said, we were very, very career focused कि पढ़ाई करनी है, अच्छा बनना है. And subconsciously भी Humsafar was somewhere on my mind is to write to Humsafar. And as I said, you know, कि मैं कर क्या रही थी, कि it was all there. And yet it took me around 21 years to wake up to the fact that boss मैं straight नहीं हूँ यार.
But like those pieces were all there, you're saying, and then you just have to put them together in a way.
Absolutely. And I think what went wrong or what took me 21 years was the fact that someone in my childhood told me कि phase है. And this is because तुम्हारे आजू बाजू में कोई लड़के नहीं, which was not true. I'm a basketball player. I've trained with boys. But you know कि वो एक कहीं पे दिमाग में रहता ना कि people tell you that this is a phase and wait it out. लड़के मिलेंगे तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. यार लड़के मिलने के बाद पहले तो कुछ ठीक नहीं होता. जो straight भी होते हैं उनके साथ भी कुछ it just gets worse. तो बस वही था and there was no turning back from there. कि I would like to believe, I don't know how out I am because it's not something that comes up for discussions. But कोई पूछता है तो मैं बताती हूँ भाई मैं straight तो नहीं हूँ. I like men, I like women, I like everything that's not men and women. And that's about it. You know, तो बस वही एक है.
But like the beauty of it, the way you said it, like, you know, like everything between as well. Like there's so much to explore to life apart from the gender angle of it, because like of course you as you said, you did your research work, you played basketball and you were beating people's asses up long before anybody even like thought about it. So you were doing so much, and that's what drove me to talk to you, because I see you as a person who's evolved in so many ways, who knows so many things, and like you're a go-to person in general. People know who Shruta is, and
call myself the MC. कि कुछ टूट जाता है तो you need MC to fix it.
And that's a legit rapport to have with everybody. So have you been always like this, or does the coming out of closet help you to become more in tune with who you are, because you were in Sydney to look for who you are?
I agree. I mean, coming out did really help. I mean, at a see. एक होता है कि you focus on your career, you focus on your studies, but there is this little tug in your mind that keeps pulling you back, that keeps saying कि यार कुछ तो सही नहीं है, and why am I feeling the way I am? And once that part of it was solved, it stopped being that problem, thorn that kept annoying you. And what really prompted that was, at that point of time, I was dating a guy, and there was this really cute girl in my class whom I couldn't help checking out. तो बेचारी, and she was like this hockey player, mom of 2 kids, उसके बच्चे शायद मेरे साल के हो गए, but she was like really really cool, and I used to try to keep myself around her. I used to try to get assignments with her, and I used to be like, ये कितनी cute है यार, ये कितनी cute है यार.
Interrupt you for a second. So when gay guys like someone who are older than them, for example somebody who has kids, and we look at them and go, look at this cute daddy. So do bisexual or lesbian women use mommy somewhere?
I guess. I mean, and that's...
But it's not a thing.
It's not really a thing. Like, you could look... And I feel that's more of an adaptation of daddy than mommy being mommy in the very true sense.
Yeah.
But
because we also have extensions to the daddy phase. Like, somebody will say bear daddy, somebody will say silver fox daddy, grey daddy.
Yep.
And like all that, like,
snow daddy.
Salt and pepper daddy.
Yes.
So like, I just want to share this with the world, that daddies are precious, please save them. Moving on to the mommy. Yes.
So... And that's another thing. If you try to read up on, I would say, not heterosexual women, non-heterosexual women, there is very little material that's available that actually tells you about things. Like with gay men, I sometimes think that kitne lucky hai yaar, itna sara research hai, there are so many, there are so many gay men who come and talk. But why isn't there anything about women? And that is something that kind of pushed me to at least take a step. I don't know whether I'm doing anything in that direction, but this has to change. There has to be something that needs to be, that needs to be out there, that helps women who are not heterosexual to find a space to bond. We don't have Grindr. We don't have PR. And gay men tell me I'm not missing out on anything because of that.
Definitely. Because see, there's a weird power dynamic, as I was saying.
Right.
And I spoke to someone about this as well.
Right.
Where we don't know much about like what LGBT women get to access in terms of dating. But what we get is rejection almost day in and day out.
I would love rejection versus I'm the only one in this world. God, come and save me. It took me Australia, man, to realize what I am.
But that helped, right? In terms of moving out of the country.
But think about everyone who may not have that space, who may not have that opportunity. I mean, a lot of this, the fact that I have a lot of advantages over someone who may not be in my place hits me very, very often. I mean, when I just started out with Humsafar, 3 of us started off Umang, which is our LBT support group. And at that point of time, because we didn't have funds, Humsafar was kind enough to, let us have a space of our own in Santa Cruz West. But we used to operate this helpline. And we used to take turns manning it. I don't know whether Sonal spoke about it, but then this helpline was with me for at least a year and a half. And half the times when I wasn't fielding marriage of convenience calls from gay men, I used to receive calls from places like Jabalpur, Agra, some place in Gujarat, Odisha, and I didn't even know how did the number get there. So I used to ask people, ki number kahan se mila? And they used to be like, dost ne diya. But at that point of time, we weren't online because we were trying to keep our number a secret. We didn't want crank callers coming in. But the question that I used to keep getting at every point of time is, ki kya main normal hu? Am I normal? And I'm like, shoot, I never had to have this am I normal conversation
with anybody.
Exactly. कहीं पे दिमाग में था कि ये सब दुनिया में होता है, मेरे साथ जो हो रहा है वो phase है, I'm going to grow out of it. But at no point of time did I ever have to question that, are my feelings normal? Am I something weird? But every time I got a call, that's what people kept asking, ki there's no one around here to connect. And that's when you don't have something, you feel the grass is greener on the other side. So you feel कि अरे grinder होता तो कितना अच्छा होता. Rejection, I would love to get rejected provided it at least connected me to someone who felt the same way as me.
True.
I mean, to be alone, to not know what's happening to you in a place that is maybe very patriarchal depending upon where you are, is not a very happy thing. Your sexuality gets pushed under the carpet, brushed under the carpet, and before you realize it, you're married, you're sent away somewhere, and you do not have the power or any sort of, I mean, I don't know what to even say ki yaar, I don't find you attractive, I like women. So bolti ho na ki that's why I kind of feel that maybe gay men, are a little luckier in this.
We have it easier, I'm telling you, hands down, we have it so easy. But we'll talk about something that we brought out earlier, about not losing control when you're exploring your sexuality.
Right.
And we'll just take a quick break now and we'll come back and talk about that. Shruta and I are here talking about our lives, and we're keeping it queer. See you soon.
Did you know that some termites in Africa have a pleasantly minty flavor?
Did you know that India's largest music festival was in a way conceptualized in Estonia?
Did you know that the awesomest chips in the world are found only inside US prisons?
Hello, I'm Chuck.
I'm Sriket.
And I'm Naren.
And together we are
Simplified,
a podcast that helps you appear smarter to an audience that knows no different.
Or give you some stuff to talk about at parties.
We are ultra-crepidarians.
And if you don't know what that means,
Then tune into Simplified with a B on iTunes, Audio Boom, or your favorite podcasting app. Episodes out every fortnight.
Welcome back to Keeping It Queer. We have Shruta here with us, and we were just talking about how women don't get a chance to talk. And tell me more about. So, because what we're doing is we're releasing this episode close to Women's Day, and I really want to know, in the bisexual spectrum rather,
Right.
how would women, connect with each other in that regard?
Okay, so social media coming in has been such a great advantage. I mean, I don't know of any cruising places for women. Like, we don't have our bus stops, we don't have our toilets, we don't have any key episodes. So what's really missing there is an element of a safe space, and I think social media coming in has shifted the dynamics a little bit. It started off with helplines and something like a secret group on Facebook where someone knows someone gets added to the group, and that's how you have a group. It's a very slow process. Just to give you an idea, we started Yaria, which is an LGBTQ youth group. Around the same time, we started Umang, the LBT support group. Yaria today has around 5,000 members. Umang celebrated when we had 100 people attending our 5th anniversary party.
Yeah,
But
because there's not much of LBT population coming out and being more participative in general.
I agree. And challenges are, I would say, they stem more from gender, because if you are at home and if you want to attend a party, your family is going to ask you 10 questions कि यार कौन है ये लोग, number दे दो, कहाँ पे जा रहे हो बता दो, ये वो ये फलाना
so sexuality takes a back seat, and that gender aspect is just more.
You just stole my words. कि you never even get to the sexuality because your gender gets in your way.
लड़की है, इसको कहाँ भेजे?
सही बात है. 8 बज गए, कहाँ पे हो? And I, for some reason, again, coming from a very, very privileged space, I never realized that this would be a problem, because when we started our Friday chill outs with Umang, we first thought कि weekend पे करते हैं. And half the people over there said, नहीं यार, weekend पे मत रखो, because my family is not going to let me go out on a weekend. And I'm like, okay. So we try to keep the chill outs or the meetings after work. And we met just once a month on a weekend. But those were the things that kind of opened my eyes कि there are so many things in my life that I take for granted. कि कोई आके मेरे पीछे 10 चीजें बोलने नहीं वाला है. But there are, women, there are trans men in a very similar situation, and yet not a similar situation.
But you see how family also plays a key role in that kind of, because as I said, subjugation happens through that,
Right.
You don't even get to the sexual aspect before you're already being subjugated for being a different gender.
Right.
And as such, when people try to break out of that mold, there's always a lot of rebellion, a lot of clashes, and people leave homes, and this is something that I've always discussed on the show, is that we shouldn't be rash about it. There are some families that do not accept people outright.
I agree.
And they voluntarily tell your own kids to leave the house, and that is brutal, as I said. But there are families that are understanding, but they take time on their own.
It takes conversation always. One of the things that I keep telling people who connect with us is, you took some time to come to terms with your sexuality.
True.
I think it's just about fair that you let the person in front have the same time. If they are being physically violent, if they are being abusive, then maybe we can intervene. But even if they say, nahi beta, ye theek nahi hai, don't just go. Blah.
Correct. So, but then, as I said, like, a lot of people lose sight of what they're into. Like, there have been cases where people have spiraled out of control.
Absolutely.
Gone to depression and drug abuse, and then, like, are sleeping around with people of all
That is so
sorts.
true. That is so true. I wish I had a strong study for LBT, but then because I work on a lot of research for gay men, one of the very recent studies that we did, and it's published, over 50% of our sample was depressed, and we used scales, we used psychological scales to determine depression, and we interviewed gay men and bisexual men online. I mean, 58% bisexual men reported depression, around 52%, 50% gay men reported depression, and that's high.
That's
that is crazy high.
Exactly.
There's substance abuse, even among LBT. I mean, with gay men, of course, you have a lot of things like, abhi slamming aa gaya hai, and people talk about MD and meow and all of that. But even among LBT, there is alcoholism, there are rage issues, there's domestic partner violence, Sometimes you internalize the madness that you see and you feel, arey, main to bada mard banunga, marunga meri partner ko. But, that is there. And there's no external factor or an external mediating force that really addresses these challenges, particularly among LBT.
True. So, like, how would you, because after the research, obviously, the numbers are alarming of depression. Right. So, how would one, reach out to these people and help them feel better?
At the end of the survey, of course, we provided contact information about Humsafar, that they could get in touch with us anytime they wished. But even at Humsafar, we have a resident clinical psychologist, and people can visit for counseling. There are studies on mental health that are on at the moment. So we hope that with a little more emphasis on mental health, things get picked up by national programs. Just keeping my fingers crossed here and being extremely optimistic. But yes, things happen.
Things will get better. In terms of at least, like, I don't think anybody should just mentally shut down and then become such a victim, because and again, we say this from a privileged point of view.
I agree.
But there is an option of not being depressed. I'm genuinely and that's not how depression works. Again, like, sometimes I also read about this a lot, and I have friends who have suffered from depression seriously and bipolar disorders, and I can't tell them to feel better, but I can obviously look at the source of the problem.
Right.
And there, at least somewhere, you can, find a space where you can, wiggle space basically to talk, because conversations help when you're in depression. That's definitely one. Second, reaching out also helps a lot, and that's why Humsafar has been a key ingredient in helping a lot of people. Yeah. Me myself, I was, the first time I came there, I felt at home, because the very reason that there's so many people like me who are looking out for the fact that we've got each other's backs, guys.
Exactly,
backs.
And that is where peer support really matters. I mean, interacted with people who are depressed, and sometimes they may not be motivated, they may just not feel like going to a Humsafar or speaking to a psychologist, and that's where peer support matters. That's where I feel a lot of LBT lose out. I mean, ek hota hai ki as long as you're single, you tend to hang around, mingle. Once you have a partner, you tend to like move away, and agar kuch un dono ke beech mein hota hai, for them to be able to access a support space becomes even more difficult. Once you cut out, I mean, 5 सालों में generation बदल जाती है. I kind of don't even know half the kids who are out there right now. But then being where I am, I can always just say ki, don't feel that you're alone. There is space. Come, just get help. That's it.
And what's interesting is also that the topic is, you went to do your masters isn't like HIV, AIDS and STIs medicine studies. So what drove you to go for that?
So I actually went for immunology, and I switched after a week because I was like, nahi yaar, lab to mujhse hone nahi wala hai. I hate lab work. Once I got there, I realized that there was a course that just seemed like as if someone had taken a pen and paper and made it for me. So I'm like, no, forget immunology, I'm coming here.
Nice.
And it was around the same time that I shifted to immunology that I began writing to Humsafar Trust. Just saying, hey guys, I love you, achhe ho, bahut pyare ho, I love your website, and stupid emails, like, and
fangirling at the very start.
Yeah. And literally, and when they replied, when one person replied, I was over the moon. I'm like, yes, someone checks that ID.
Yeah, someone listened. Essentially, that's what the happiness is about. It someone gave a shit.
Exactly. And after I came back, I kind of started like, I mean, I use this word lightly. Please do not ever stalk anyone. But I literally used to stalk Humsafar, stalk them on social media, attend the workshops, and it was as if, my first step into Humsafar, and just the way you felt at home, I was like, ye ghar hai, I'm not leaving this place. And that was 7 years ago.
So then from there, obviously after Sydney happened and you finished your masters, so you thought about obviously inculcating all of this in your real life.
I just wanted to come back and work with Humsafar. Line बहुत clear थी.
The fangirling was
it was literally like
XOXO for life, yeah.
Exactly. वो Shahrukh का fan, when I was watching it, I'm like, shit man, was I that bad? I hope I wasn't that bad.
And that's inspiring because your idol in life is someone who's actually reaching out to LGBTQ individuals in distress, and that's like nobody, you don't see youngsters getting inspired by stuff like that anymore because they have their own idols and it's people with fake PR machinery. But yours something genuine. So.
एक था कि HIV interested me a lot right from the start. That and the fact that I wanted to just get on ground because there were so many things that learning, just the course taught me. I was like, अरे ये तो घर पे नहीं होता, ये नहीं होता. Maybe this is a way we can get it back.
So the first time you ever came to know about the term HIV and AIDS?
Right. 14. We used to read a lot.
Okay, so it was like in the correct sense of the term. People,
yeah, absolutely. I've been very lucky in that regard. Ki family has been very, very open-minded. They tried going the birds and the bees way, and sometimes they did try to, they said uterus.
Yeah.
They said menstruation, and that was good enough. I was like,
heavy words for kids.
Heavy words for 14-year-olds.
But everybody should be. And I recently read that now the government is actually planning to launch an entire program. And it's called Yaria only, I believe, or something like that.
Why do people take that name, man?
Satya, sorry. It's not Yaria. So it's Satya Connect kind of thing where young kids who are in puberty stage
will be
able
read
to
about that yesterday.
Yeah. And it's also a good thing about this is, and right now speculation, but we hope it is, that they don't term homosexuality as a disorder. They say it's natural and people can be selective of their partners.
I agree.
And that's important because when you're reaching out to kids of that age, you can't, my teacher told me, as I always keep maintaining, was that you can't take a penis in your butt because it's hurting so much. And her comparison study was this, okay, that remember when you pass hard stools how much it hurts. And I'm like, but you still have to take a poop and you can't not take a poop. But anyways, so when you look at all these things that I went through, and my first, as I was asking, because HIV AIDS also, when my first encounter with that word was, my friend said, some guy and his older sister told him that once you have sex with one person and then you have sex with another person, you get AIDS. That's the definition. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't have sex.
And those misconceptions still exist.
Exactly,
ऐसा भी नहीं है कि I still get those WhatsApp messages with red colored fruit cores and saying इसमें HIV है, and I'm like, it doesn't work.
Oh god.
But
they mean probably the baboon ka bite. I don't know.
Pata nahi yaar. It's like in this day and age, you have a lot of good websites. Internet, of course, is a dual, double-edged sword. Ki kahin pe jaake you'll also get these WhatsApp ka pictures. You'll also get something that's correct information. But then it shouldn't be.
But more or less, it's correct information out there.
Exactly. It shouldn't be so hard. But fir bhi,
Because what you said is what happened with me for the longest time as well. I believed I was in a phase, and I would do my own research.
Right.
And by the time that I was well versed with what's happening in the world and gay rights exist, and I watched a couple of documentaries and you understand what Stonewall was, or you watch Harvey Milk's life, and you see all these good things that happened in the past, and I'm like, hey, that's okay. So all it needs is a little bit of research maybe, and there was nobody to talk to for me as well. There was nobody to connect with either. But I did my own research, and somehow I was like, okay, this is fine.
That's true.
Wrong. Yeah.
That's true. And see, this is something that keeps bothering me a lot कि एक हाथ पे research है, but how do you connect people who are young? Like what really kept me going with Yaria in particular was that when I was young, there was someone who did tell me something that was wrong, and at that point of time, though I did not feel helpless, victimized, anything, I just kept waiting for a very long time for something to go, for something to get cured, and something that wasn't even an illness to be cured.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want anyone else who's young to go through that, and luckily I do see a lot of difference. Like in my school, when people used to make fun of, gay men, or they used to be very dismissive of people who were, I would say, very boyish or very girlish. a lot of people today are opening up to the idea. You have a lot more youngsters coming out at the age of 18, at the age of 19. You have sometimes 17-year-olds who know that, boss, this is me, I'm a queen, back off.
And I'm slaying it. Like, you see
exactly.
guys, for example, so I was hosting a show somewhere at a venue in Bombay, and a group of kids afterwards, like hardly 12 standard kids, came to me and they were like, so one of the guys stepped forward and it's like, hey, I like your set, and I talk about being gay on stage as well.
Right.
So he said that, hey, I'm gay as well, and he was like a little with the adai and everything. And I was like, I know. So it's like, you know what, like I'm gay, and I was really happy to see you do this, and his friends from behind were like, yeah, he dances like a fucking queen. Like, look at him slay at Beyonce's music. And I'm like, guys, this is what it is, right? This is a real friend clique you have, and because they are supporting you from this very age and they admire your dance moves, and that's amazing. So that's what, like, you know, you need to have these cliques, and youngsters, as you said, are opening up to the idea. And they'll start dating guys directly, not even like, because I had to go and date 3 girls before I was sure that I don't like girls. But these guys are just slaying it, man.
They're just slaying it. And technology is working in their favor. Not as much. I mean, I'm a little worried about 17-year-olds going and, like, I have been reading Milo's, you know, I mean, whatever, man, mad boy.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't want someone to ever end up like that. You know, too
boisterous and...
Not even too boisterous, it's more like, you know, I thank the person who abused me. No, thank you. No, it doesn't work that way. There are healthier outlets for people to explore.
That's just dismissing the whole, like, what people are fighting for.
Exactly. A 17-year-old on Grindr would worry me. There are safer avenues for people to meet, and I would want someone to know different ways to protect themselves before they get into something. Crisis hote rehta hai. What if you get blackmailed? What if someone tries to rob you?
And STI is obviously the biggest scare of all time. Right. And it's easy to lose sight, I'll tell you. And this is personally, from my experience, it's very easy to lose sight.
Right.
But when you actually end up in trouble and you know how difficult it is. For example, I'll tell you my personal experience from Humsafar was that... I had to wait like a half an hour after I came to collect my report. I was very scared.
Yeah.
And I have known, like, I'm pretty safe and I've played safe and everything.
Yeah.
But still that fear is there,
of
you know.
Course.
And the counselor told me that, no, like the entire batch of people who were tested that day, I was the only one who was negative.
Yes.
And I'm like, shh, you know, you shake, your whole world kind of rattles for a second. And I was like, what's happening out there? Why are people not being more careful?
That's something that we've always wanted to know, and for a very long time, you know, we did manage to control HIV and STIs, but what has happened is that the national programs are, you know, they've just started to take about the seriousness of the situation. Now.
We have lost millions and millions of people in this whole battle.
Yes, and the way it's supposed to be done, वैसे होता नहीं है. You know, there are a lot of technological advances that have come in, and I understand that budgets are strained, वो सब issues है. But now you're seeing an epidemic that's again on a rise.
Yeah.
I out of every 4 people I test at in my studies, one of them tests positive for some STI, be it HIV, syphilis, chlamydia, gonorrhea. And that worries me because half of the kids who come here, not half, almost everyone, is like, ये मेरे को कैसे हुआ? And I'm like, oh, dude, yeah. But, you know, everyone believes that they are not vulnerable.
Yeah.
There is this sense कि मैं Superman हूँ, I do not sleep with, you know, in quotes, those kind of people. Honey, everyone is those kind of people.
Yeah.
You know? तो वो एक सेंस ऑफ क्या बोलते हैं इनविंसिबिलिटी कि मुझे कुछ नहीं होगा is something that propels it. Plus then people are, you know, now using drugs, inject करते हैं, तो you know that increases your chances of acquiring some STIs.
And again, like the good thing about you not being on PR is that there's some people who genuinely like organize orgies nowadays, and to your whims and fancies, but
of
just
course.
Make sure that somebody who's coming into your house in a group is just well tested and everything is, you know. That's not
right.
That's because people are just like, just come over, let's just hook up. And
exactly.
This crazy hookup situation, however, can...
There are no condoms. I mean, I'm like, go as many partners as you have, you know, create a lesbos or whatever in your bedroom. Fark nahi padta. But there are safe skills. Like, for example, how many of us know कि when you are in an orgy, you're supposed to change condoms between partners.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So it's basically that you could acquire an infection from someone you've not even slept with.
Yeah.
Because someone you slept with wasn't common and the person did not change a condom between the two of you. So, ये जो fine tunes है वो miss out हो जाती है, and a lot of people don't realize that this is how they might have acquired an infection.
And the education about this obviously was lagging for years now.
I agree.
Even now, like you get to see ads and you get to listen to radio infomercials about like women who are pregnant can have non-HIV babies if they can just take the right medicines.
Exactly.
But also that also like the whole phase of people saying ki now it's okay, we can have prolonged lives, so let's continue partying.
See, prolonged life is one thing, but if you look at India, we do not have any bills that protect rights of people who are HIV positive.
True.
There are very few medical insurance providers who would cover HIV-related illness or cover any illness for that matter once you are HIV positive. Those are things that you need to worry about.
But medication, how is that with the government?
Medication's amazing. There is, as I said, clinically, I don't see it, killing people the way it did before.
Yeah.
But socially, we are not there yet. There is a lot of stigma. There are no laws that protect you once you're HIV positive. And while we are fighting for that, we would not want anyone to go through the same, if it can be avoided.
So there's no Philadelphia situation going to ever come across in India?
Never know.
Unless they copied and called Fir Milenge.
Exactly. Fir Milenge was quite decent, but fir bhi people, as I said, they other the infection, they other everything.
Yeah.
Ki ye mujhe nahi hoga, this is not for me, this is not going to happen to me, only sleep with clean people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other stuff, like, people don't even know what the symptoms of herpes would be, or gonorrhea for that matter, or syphilis. So this
testing for gonorrhea is crazy in India. It costs you a bomb. It costs you around 2 grand one site, and believe me, if you're taking it in all holes, that's 2 grand per hole that it goes into. So so just testing for gonorrhea is going to cost you like 7-8 grand if you are really, really active. And
so how is there a way around it though? Like if someone from a financially bad background would want to test for all kinds of STIs, so wouldn't that create like a barrier between them? So does Humsafar help out in that regard?
So the way the national program goes over here is that you just treat the person if the person has, and then you assume, and believe me, the assumption is not way off. They believe that if you've not had a checkup in the last 6 months, if you've had unprotected sex with someone in the last 3 months, you have that infection. Syphilis and HIV testing is very, very affordable. It can be done anywhere. With chlamydia, it's like a 30 rupees ka antibiotic. It's 8,000 to find out whether you have it, and it's 30 rupees to treat it. So you end up taking pills, which in turn, makes gonorrhea stronger because you're increasing its resistance to that drug. But
that's a lot of medical science in one go with that.
Right.
I'm so confused at this point. If any of you can decipher what she meant, then please write back to me.
Oh, it's just that when you take a lot of pills, it's like using a spray, mosquitoes ka spray.
Correct.
Odomos has to keep changing its formula once in a while.
Because they become immune to that and
exactly.
they evolve.
And the same thing with gonorrhea as well. The more you expose it to antibiotics, the more it's going to build resistance to it, and then you're going to have a brand of gonorrhea that's not going to react to the medicines that you're taking.
Correct. So I'm glad you used the mosquito example because that solves everything.
There you go.
So let's take another small break here and let's talk about what you want to do with your life aage. See you on the other side.
Cool.
Hey friend, so if you're listening to a podcast right now, you're probably some kind of a nerd. A nerd at heart at least. So maybe, just maybe, you might like another podcast. About nerds, by nerds, and for nerds.
It's called Geek Fruit, a community to unite estranged geeks from across India and later on the world. We talk about television, movies, science fiction, adventure, fantasy, etc. Anything nerdy, it's all here on Geek Fruit.
We've got episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday, and you can check us out on iTunes, Audioboom, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps. Like my favorite podcast app, the IVM podcast app. Give me my money, IVM.
Good plug.
Happy listening, you nerds.
Welcome back to Keeping It Queer, and in the break again we were discussing the implications of testing positive in a country like ours, and you said like medically it's still doable, we can still survive by taking meds and fighting the norm, but then socially we are badly fucked. And why?
I would like to be a little optimistic. I don't want to say badly fucked, but I would say that there are a lot of challenges because you are living in a country that loves its myths and misconceptions. A lot of people do not know about HIV, and that results in a lot of unwarranted stigma towards people living with HIV. I'm not even talking about the people on the outside, but even within community. zero sorting. If someone's positive, no one wants to date them, no one wants to go out with them. There is a stigma attached saying that, you're a slut. And there's slut shaming that happens. Then there is stigma. People will not be caught alive around you. They will not share food with you.
And like somewhere we lose sight of the fact that there are people who have died. Like in the 80s, we lost so many gay men and women to this battle. And we should appreciate, like, the disease should not be an untouchability issue, but more like something we look up to, saying that this is what happened and it took so many lives, we're going to fight you now.
Exactly.
As a community.
As a community, and even people who are positive require a lot of support. It's you cannot shun people based on their status. And I'll share this one example that happened. So a friend of mine, came in with one of his HIV positive friends. And he kept talking about how I need to support my friend and how awesome it is. And then he very casually just mentioned something on lines of, I ask people before I have sex with them whether they're HIV positive or negative. And I'm like, why would you do that? And that's when he realized that, okay, this may not be okay, because if I'm going to use a condom anyway, how does it matter if the person in front is HIV positive or negative? True. Are you not going to sleep with the person if he's positive? And do you realize that that's exactly what your friend here is going through right now? That maybe people want to meet him for a coffee, but they refuse to see themselves in a real relationship with someone who's positive. And that is stigma as well. That is discrimination as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, it happens. It happens at many, many layers.
And you said that there's only one insurance company
that I know of that provides insurance to people who are HIV positive. And that's what I'm saying. Insurance-wise, health-wise, there we need a lot of laws to protect people who are positive. Insurance doesn't even cover other venereal diseases, as they call them in their forms. So I don't understand, what does a syphilis which is easily treatable? Why do insurance companies have to specifically say that? Or why do companies that hire you need to test you for, venereal diseases? Like my husband got tested for syphilis when he was hired. And I'm like, why are they testing you for syphilis? It's not like syphilis is going to stop you from
working or
being the kick-ass salesperson that you are, but yeah.
Correct. So, do we now look at this epidemic as somewhere we have reached a impasse now, because it's on the rise, as you said, and do we have anything now in store to help us out in the coming
go
future?
Back to the drawing board, restart, ho jayega. Look, we just need to be open. We just need to be open to the idea that there is a change that needs to happen. Let's not be like monsters and scare people, but I think having friendly conversations, things that are more open.
The threat is real.
The threat is absolutely real. But it doesn't, there
it's
are
not
two
something
ways.
we can be very vociferous about, but we can be like, let's calm down and look at this from a pragmatic angle.
Stay calm and fight the STIs.
Yeah.
So
we need
there should be a t-shirt.
Let's do this. I hear Yarya's funding people now with t-shirt ideas, so...
Are we?
So talk to me about Umang, and I want to know how the origin of, like, how only three of y'all and three young women genuinely like wanted to help people out, and that's again something that not many people will do.
We wanted to help ourselves out. Sabse pehle to, oxygen mask ka example, air flight ka, ki wear a mask yourself before you put it on someone else. So I really believe in that. I would, So with Umang, what happened was that we were in Humsafar, and there are a lot of services that are provided to Humsafar. Like there are condoms, there is HIV test, there is a doctor, and we were like, no one had said ki this is not for women, but the way it used to go ki MSM logon ke liye hai, and I hate the term MSM, but yeah.
Can you give the listeners a full form of that?
Men who have sex with men. That's so like, it strips you of everything, man. But anyways, it's a very HIV, TI related term. So, and we were like, why can't LBT use these as well? I'm sure I need to see a doctor. I wouldn't mind getting an HIV test. And some of us use condoms as well. And that's where the conversation started, and that's where Umang was formed. So initial meeting of Umang was, you get your friend, I get my friend, each one get one. And Humsafar has this beautiful little office in Santa Cruz West, which is, they were very kind enough to say, ki, use that as your space. And we'll foot the rent, which is amazing because Umang didn't have any money. It still doesn't. So, but that's how we got together. We started organizing events, and it was a very nice feel. Just to be able to sit in a space and talk about your challenges is it's catharsis. You know, you need it. You need to vent. You need to sit and crib about your parents, or maybe just bond or saying, "Yaar, ghar se marriage pressure aa raha hai. What do I do right now?"
And that's very legit. Like, men think it's difficult for them, but women have it more difficult. And they like, the parents will be like, "What do you mean you like girls?" And have you ever had to face that issue with your folks? Have you ever told them?
So I'm out or not out. No one. I don't talk about my partners at all to my family.
Okay.
You know, it's not the men, not the woman, nothing in the between. Never. I'm out to my sister, and she's amazingly supportive to the point that she has more gay friends than I do. You know, she's kind of a little more popular in that circle. She's hijacked my life. I'm out to my husband.
Okay.
And I've always been out to him. He's the only straight guy who did not ask me for a threesome. So, no, the benchmark is so low.
Okay, but like, how did he take it initially? Like, when you told him?
Nothing. That's what I love about him. You know, I mean, uska ye tha ki yaar hai bas, and
ठीक है, चलो.
We love each other. Let's get married. Okay, fine. Yeah.
That's adorable. Yeah.
But he was someone who didn't react at all, and I think that is the best kind of reaction that I would have received. If someone would have held my hand and asked me ki bata tu aise kaise bani, I would have flung something at their face. You know, I mean, what I like is a lot of people may want acknowledgement.
Yeah.
To a point, I miss acknowledgement, but I don't want acknowledgement in that sense, at least in my space.
Correct.
You know, allow me the freedom to say it, and please don't react badly. That's all I want.
Correct. If there's intimacy, then there's no need for pity, is what I believe.
Exactly. I don't want pity. You know, I'm not in that phase. Maybe it works well for someone else, but for me, just allow me to say it. You know, I mean, I don't need your permission, but you know what I mean. Ki at least the freedom to be able to say it is okay for me.
Correct. So before we close this, I just wanted to like, one main thing that I observed, like in the past 4 years of the Pride I've seen you, you're always at the start. You're always the most decked up, and you have so many cool outfits every year. I hate you for that because I'm so jealous. And so Yaria gets to lead the Pride every year.
We just go, man. Anyone can come.
Yeah, but what's the feeling like? What's the
I
whole
love Pride. Yeah. It's like the best day of year. It's Christmas and Diwali packed together. Yeah. And so the very first Pride outfit that I wore was stitched by my mom. It was a skirt, and we made it with crepe paper, and she stitched it with me. So this is the level of, you know, घर पे ये सब होता है कि कपड़े बनते हैं, they see Yaria, Umang, and yet we've never really had a conversation, which is, I think, the Indian way of coming out, where we don't sit across the table and tell each other things, but everyone knows everything anyway. So she helped me stitch my Pride outfit, and then she likes my photographs, and then she shares my news links and all of that. But it's amazing. You know, Pride for me is like one day where I feel that I actually see us as a community instead of the little fragments that we exist in.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Supreme Court came out with the verdict and said that we are a minuscule minority, and kahin pe mere dimag mein, believe me, I shouldn't have had this doubt, but I did. But I'm like, are we really minority?
No, we're not.
Itne chote, but
this year.
Every year, 5,000, 6,000, even in spite of a law that criminalizes us. 2 days after the verdict, Yaria performed a flash mob. None of the kids wore a mask. You know, and I'm like, and no, we are not. So these things like really...
But you give them an option if you want to...
Yeah, of course.
They're like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, we made the option. We always keep that for everyone. Ki pehna chahta to pehno. None of the kids have ever performed in a mask. And that's what makes me believe Pride, these events, they just help reinforce the fact that we are a community, and here we are, you know, don't take this away from us.
And what I was saying, this year, over 14,000 people.
I know, right? The Pride broke up into 4 parts. So it became like Pride 1, Pride 2, Pride 6.
I know, after the Pride, obviously people go to Ideals mostly and around that Chopati area. And there was madness there as well. Usually it's very kind of noisy, but not too crowded.
Yeah.
This year there was madness. There was a jukebox, and there was...
Exactly. I think they dread us coming there. I don't know. I would dread. I would be scared.
Spill on the streets next time onwards. I'm pretty sure there'll be like proper, like not only on the streets. There's a beach right opposite.
Exactly. They don't let us go on the beach. No, I mean, well, fair enough. 14,000 people on the beach on a day is a police nightmare.
That'll be some side though.
That would be fun. Secretly, I'm hoping for it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's open up the beaches for us.
I agree.
So eventually, we hope that we get control over our lives as we want.
Right.
We hope that we can fight the diseases that we're trying to fight. We hope that there's more people who can positively come out and nobody reacts to it. And Shruta, it's been wonderful talking to you.
It's been amazing. Thank you. This was fun.
So before we go, one last message to everybody who's listening to you, youngsters, old people, anyone.
You're not alone. That's how I felt for a very long time, but don't feel alone. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not normal. Fuck normal. No one wants to be normal. Normal is boring.
Don't be boring. And we'll see you next week again with a new episode of Keeping It Queer. And if you ever need to reach out to someone, as we already mentioned, Humsafar Trust is always there for you. So should I give them the number, no?
Sure. It's 266 73800. I'll repeat, it's 266 73800, and if you're calling from outside of Mumbai, our code is 022.
Awesome. So please reach out and be strong and keep it queer always. Thank you so much. Well, if you enjoyed the show, you can listen to more of it on any of the podcasting apps you like. You can look out for us on Audioboom, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Beyond Pod. But if you're looking for us on the iTunes India store, you might have a bit of a trouble finding us because of the language used on the show. So be sure to change your location and then listen to us. For now, it's me, Naveen Narona, signing off. Goodbye. Thank you so much. And please continue keeping it queer. Hey man, just help me out, man. I need some podcasts, man. I haven't had a fix in a week. Just need some.
Don't you worry about it. I got podcast galore for you, man. Just go to ivmpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna check it out.